Welcome to A Girl, a Guy, and a Movie. And with us today is the lovely Janet from Another Planet.
Hello.
Also, we have our friend Six Nation 31 Kings.
Cowabunga.
Today we watched the fantastic 1990 film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is probably in my opinion, it's the best display of Jim Henson's productions since The Dark Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this was like one of his last big productions too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Want to thank everybody that came in the chat, and for those of you that will be watching this after we are done being live. But
that looks a hell of a lot better on my TV screen.
This the avatar for you?
Yeah.
Okay. But, hey, Crafting Gamer. Hey, Wolfton Media. We watched this movie, and this is one of those films that you just can't really get away from, no matter how critical you want to be of it. No matter what warts you find on the rewatch, it's not exactly a movie that those criticisms stand up well, despite what Rotten Tomatoes might think. With what, a 42% rating, Janet?
It was 81 from the audience, though.
Yeah, and that's pretty close to where I would rate it.
That's what I always look at. I don't care what the pros think, because I usually don't like what the pros like for some reason.
Yeah, it's definitely dated with the soundtrack. Like the whole hip hop rap thing was like, it was in everything, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Not as cool as Ninja Rap, though.
Man, we're gonna have a fight on our hands here.
It's like every time I say that, a part of me dies.
I'm happy to hear that, because the Vanilla Ice, I want to cleanse them from my mind.
Hey, you guys got to realize every song ever made that became a hit made the next hit what it was, because it was before it. Okay, where would rock and roll be without Elvis or Michael Jackson? Okay, I mean, you got to think about it that way. In all the different genres of music, you have to have stinkers to make the other people more successful, because they learn from listening to how bad that one was. Or even the one-hit wonders, we love that their iconic song, but they just never could do that again. No. It's rare when you have bands like Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones, Nirvana, other bands, groups that were able to
Hey, Lady, how's it going?
To make a hit.
We miss you, Lady.
And because we listened to them, that's why they were successful.
Yeah, got Wolf Media, TCG, awesome. Yeah. So back to the movie and not crap soundtracks.
Go ahead.
This thing held up extremely well for being over 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I thought so.
Like, story-wise, I was 13, and I was still a big fan of the comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, oh, this is awesome. And I was a fan of the cartoon, even though that was more of my brother's jam.
Mm-hmm.
It held up extremely well. The technical aspects of it, this was like, what, a $13 million budget or something like that. They had those awesome suits, the choreography, absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm. And all the people that were on Shredder's side, all the people in the ninja costumes, all the extras or whatever you want to call them, you could tell they took time with all of them to make them look like they had skills of some sort to fight. You know what I mean? All the detail that went into it, the director really wanted us to see his vision. And that I say that a lot, I know, but that is why it becomes a hit. When we, the viewer, can get into the characters, at least one. If we love Shredder, or we love April, or whichever character that we choose, the young boy, Danny, that we have a kinship with, because something from each character comes out, and we either hate them or we love them. And when that happens, you're going to be more into the movie because you care about the character and you want to see them be successful in whatever it is that they're supposed to do in the movie. And the director did a phenomenal job at pulling you in to like someone in the movie.
I just got to agree with that, because this movie, whenever I was a young kid, I only was familiar with the cartoon at the time. It wasn't until 92 when I started getting a chance to read the comics and pick a few up
Mm-hmm.
here and there. And I have to say that I was already a fan of the Ninja Turtles cartoon show. I thought that was great. And God bless you, April, or Janet, for wearing the proper April outfit today. You look great.
Thank you.
But Michelangelo was my guy on the TV show. And
Mm-hmm.
then watching this, he just even seemed more animated in this. And Raphael was always kind of like a kind of one in the comics, and he's kind of the same in the
He's the hothead.
yeah, he was always the hothead, but
Mm-hmm.
he's so good at doing this and just being a good constant character, and the consistency from every media they had leading up to this film, including this film. They love the source. The only thing I gotta complain about is really just Judith Hogue. I wanted her in the yellow jumpsuit. I know that sounds nerdy, whatever, but I just like her better in the cartoon, because when I read the comics finally, she was a lab assistant, and I wasn't really into that. That wasn't my that wasn't the April O'Neil I wanted to read about. She was still basically the same character, but her vocation had changed a bit, and I think she did better in the cartoon as a reporter, and it seemed to fit a lot better to help with the turtles on what they were trying to achieve. The
Mm-hmm.
comics was great, but we were talking before the cameras turned on. The comics were kind of like a parody piece or an homage piece, but still with a bit of like tongue in cheek, wink, wink at the viewer,
Mm-hmm.
and it it matured more. The comics were very mature. First off, they were very mature. They were very bloody, but the characterizations of these people seem to mature more, and it because of the fact you have a constant 30-minute television show every day you're watching, the characters felt like they were actually developing really well on the TV show, on the cartoon, and I was so impressed with that. And then when you go back and read the comics, it's like, wait, that's where they were. That was the source for that. And so there was some small differences here and there, nothing really big, but just small differences. And then this movie comes out, and this movie did really its best. Could they have done everything that I wanted them to? No, the fighting is kind of clumsy in the suits, but those are gigantic suits. I thought they were rubberized suits that weighed like 100 pounds at the time. I found out later that they were kind of lightweight because they had done some castings and mold, and then they kind of went from rubber suits to foam, which that's considerably lighter, but still bulky.
It's
And
bulky. Yeah.
yeah, the bulky part, it's going to make things a little bit more difficult to do, but it works
Well,
out really well. Go
one of the
ahead.
scenes that I wanted to say that because of what you were talking about with the suits that I really loved, and I'm so thankful they put it in there, was every turtle that any person's ever seen, we've seen a turtle go back in his shell, right?
Yeah.
So when you get to see that one scene where he's got his back to one of them and they take their sword and they go to swipe his head off, and you go like that, right? But you see his head go down into a shell. Little things like that, I thought was really good because it really did take you into them being a turtle. You know what I mean? So there was lots of little things that they did that didn't take away from the characters to me for a visualized version of the story. I just thought it was really good, and I tried to look at all the little details like that. And the story when they showed the actual turtles in the sewer walking around in the goo, I just loved it. I just thought it was really good. It helped you want the turtles to be successful because you felt sorry for them because they were all abandoned, right? And when they were found by Splinter and saved, basically, and he treated them as his own children because basically he adopted them. I'm getting, and I don't want to get real emotional, but I just thought it was wonderful. It was a really good way of making it so that we could all love them, all want to root for them and want them to win over the bad guys. I just thought it was really good. Still, even
my
this
only pet
years
peeve
later.
in the entire movie was the scene where April O'Neil gets jumped by the Foot Clan. No way in hell is there any subway in New York that is that empty at any hour of the day.
Yeah, ever.
That was the only flaw.
Yeah, that was bad.
That kind of took me out of the moment for a second. I was like, Then I got over it.
But it was good. I really, really enjoyed it. There were so many little details in it that made it really good. Even when like when he threw the pizza up in the air and he used the ninja sword to slice it up and it was landing on the people's plates and then it landed on Splinter's head, it gave you a little chuckle, because they're teenagers now and they're goofing around with their dad, basically. I just thought it was very very family oriented, trying to show you what it's like to have a teenage son, you know what I mean, type of thing. I thought it was awesome. It just, I don't know, I just loved it. And I didn't think the music was that bad either, because I knew the movie wasn't today, the story is good. I wish we had more movies coming out with stories like this, that showing that you can overcome the bad people, if you work together, you trust each other. I just loved it.
All I'm saying is
It
it dices,
that,
it slices, and it cuts cheese in 3 different. Whoops.
Yep.
It mirrored the comic book with that whole scene where he's mimicking the martial arts.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis, how you doing today, sir?
Hi, Sean.
And it was great that they were able to get through the origin story without having to go full comic, and then you see the bloodbath.
Mm-hmm. And I love the fact you didn't see anybody die. You know what I mean?
That's where it parallels the cartoon. You got the melding of both genres, and they do it well, and it doesn't detract from the overall story.
The part where he's telling the story about their love interest, and that he came home and he found her dead. Basically, you saw a woman laying in a black background, with the table there, like you would on a Broadway play, you know what I mean? And the light down on her like that. So you know that she's dead, but it didn't make it gruesome. You know what I mean? They didn't make it in your face type of thing. And then he was attacked by the guy who had murdered his woman, his wife or whatever. And then he is murdered. Okay. And it's all being seen by a rat, that's in a cage, a bird cage, which I thought was the whole thing was just so adorable, because it made it like, it's a sad story, but they were able to tell it in a childlike manner, to where it wasn't overcoming, and you knew that it was a puppet, that it wasn't a real rat, because it did not look like a real rat. Okay. He was up on his hind legs and he was learning how to fight, all this stuff. I just thought it was wonderful. It was in a magical format. And I thought that was really, really good. You just don't see that type of fantasy anymore, I don't know, in that type of detail to draw you in and tell you a story and not pull you out of the story. You're feeling more feelings towards the characters because of the backstory. I just thought they did a great job. And I still think it was, people that watch it today that had never seen it, young children or a family to watch it, would still like it and still get a story out of it. I feel.
Well, there's some people. I know a few people who refuse to watch these movies simply because they're too childish. They're based, as far as they're concerned, they're based off the cartoon show.
Oh well, that's sad.
I don't understand why somebody would think that. This exactly was not something that was, born of a triple X media. This was an homage to Daredevil, which was a kind of an edgy, teenager-focused comic book, which everybody seemed to really enjoy back when it was released in the early 90s.
Yeah, it's interesting that people would have all these preconceived notions. But I guess, they figure it's on Saturday morning cartoons or afternoon cartoons, then got to be geared towards little kids or something like that. And then you got, the whole 80s thing with the action figures and the lunchboxes and all that.
Yeah, well, there is an excellent joke. Cool, there's an excellent joke from the show Dinosaurs. The father is sitting there watching. It's like super cheap puppets, like sock puppets, and in the joke, two pantyhose walk in the little show for the joke. Two pantyhose go walking up, and the sock mom goes, "I'm not having two hoes in my house. Why are you watching a kid show, Earl? It's not just a kid show. It has a surprising, dark, and witty adult-like humor." Looks keeps watching the show. It's a kid show, Earl. And that's exactly what happens with cartoons. They see this childish, what is considered a childish media, and even though they hear or see something in completely 100% adult, they completely miss it. Because it's a child show.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I think I've mentioned this before. I went to see South Park the movie, and I was shocked when I saw all these kids were there in line with all these kids, and I'm like, this is a grown-up movie, right?
The first movie, yeah, I know. The first movie makes fun of that.
It was terrible. I mean, it had Saddam Hussein and the devil, in a love relationship and all that stuff. It actually had pictures of penises. It was just. I was shocked that if you had seen the cartoon on TV, then you would know it's not a child-oriented. I love Futurama. I loved all those types of things. So I never would have thought of it. But see, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, not the same thing. It, to me, was always for families, not for just grown-ups, and the way they talked, the way they acted. Well, I'm talking about the movie.
Yeah.
This movie that we just watched. That's what I'm talking about. It's a movie that you could take your kids to. Now, a parent that had kids that were older, like teenagers, 12-year-olds that were reading the comic book, I think it would be appropriate. But I wouldn't even take a kid that was 6 to see it, just because it's they're fighting with weapons. That's something I wouldn't want to take a small kid to. But I'm talking about families, like a dad and his son that's like 11 or 12. I could see them going to this movie and having a great time. You know what I mean? Something to talk about later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, my mother was very protective of me and my brother growing up. And when I studied martial arts, I was 18. It was summertime when I first started, and I was telling her I have to save up money to get a sword, and she didn't want a weapon in the house. And I was like, I'm 18. I'm an adult. I'm going to be graduating soon. You don't have to worry about it. And she was freaking out. I'm like, it's a practice sword. Don't worry about it. I had to play it down like it was a fake sword in order for me to get it, and then continue with my training because we had to do drawing practice. And it felt really dirty having to to my mom.
Yeah, I
Like,
remember.
I'm normally very honest with my mother, but that was like one of the few times that I was dishonest, and it's awkward thinking about it now. Like,
I cut
some
my
parents have a
finger.
disconnect with their kids with certain things, and like cartoons, I guess, being one of them. So they
I was
assume, oh, this is
when I
a
saw this.
kids show, and then they take them to freaking South Park, and then they realize, what have I done? It's just a
I
sign of
wasn't
the
a kid
times.
when I went and saw this, but I wanted to try nunchucks, and I don't remember it was because of this movie, but I just beat myself up with them. My arms were covered with bruises, my face, I had knots all over my head, and I just said, screw it. I'm just not meant to be able to do it. I wish I could have, because it sure looks super cool and badass. You pull them out of your purse, but not if you're beating yourself up with them instead. So
My brother
you
had
guys ever
Octagon
try 'em?
nunchaku, and those things are freaking deadly. They got edges on them. You'll get cut up really bad.
Well,
And
I was lucky. My mother bought me the ones for a gift that were foam. You know, they had a foam cover on the outside.
yeah, we had a whole
after she
like half a dozen of those cheap foam ones.
So yeah,
And so my brother, when he was studying his karate, he was gifted those by his sensei, and so he's like messing with them, and he hit himself with one of the edges on the elbow and like bashed up his elbow. So he put those away, and then we went to like Chinatown and got a. Well, he didn't think that he would be sticking around with those, but we went to Chinatown one weekend, and we were visiting our cousins up in San Francisco, and we just bought like a half dozen of the foam ones, and then royally beat the crap out of each other the next couple of months. Those were fun.
Just so I can put my experience in terms that maybe some of you will understand better. When I try to use nunchucks, I still have a -4 non-proficiency penalty. I'm terrible with nunchucks. So if I ever get in a fight,
-4 on a D6, nonetheless.
If I want to like make sure I lose, I whip out the nunchucks and I get my ass kicked handily. It's great.
Yeah, give me a sword or a staff. I can hold my own, but flailing nunchaku, no.
Maybe one day I'll get my chucks and Sean and I can have a duel. We'll see who beats each other up first before we knock ourselves out. I'll tell you, it's hard.
I still think
my brother actually got a pair of sai later on, which was cool, but didn't really practice with them. They were more wall hangers. Yeah. I was like, man, one of these days we got to dress up like Ninja Turtles again. I'll be Raph and you can be Michelangelo.
So who was your favorite in the movie? Which character? All of you, I'm asking. If you don't mind telling me.
You can't tell by the forks in my hand?
Well, yeah, I can tell who you. I'm talking the other two guys.
I like Michelangelo. He's my boy. Just the fact that he's so skilled with the nunchucks, and he's very talented when it comes to just silly things like that. He doesn't seem to take anything seriously, and
he's very laid back.
Very laid back. He's first to the pizza. It's great.
Michelangelo is what I aspired to be when I was a kid. That's your answer.
Well, I liked Shredder. I had a pet rat, and I had it for quite a few years before he got cancer and died, because that's usually what rats die from. I guess that's why they decide to use them in labs. But I had him for years, and he had multiple. It was Herbie and Bonnie. And we had a male and a female, and we would take the babies when they got to a certain age, and my dad would take them to work. You know, they had lots of snakes at Jungle Survival School, so I knew that's where they ended up going. They were food for the snakes, but we got to have them, and I just loved them. I thought having pet rats was not too bad of a pet, and they didn't live a long time, so my mother approved, as long as we kept them, out of her room. cleaned up after him. But I just thought Splinter was adorable. I mean, the work they did to make the puppet with its eyes that would water, you know,
Mhm.
it's adorable. I just thought it was just cute. Now he was kind of hokey to me when he was in the cage, like I was talking earlier. But once they made him into a puppet where he was sitting in the chair and interacting with the turtles, I just loved it. I thought it was wonderful
See
artwork.
the scenes where they
Yeah, Lady, my
show.
second fave would be Casey Jones.
Oh yeah,
First Raphael
all the guys
and
like
Casey Jones.
I remember that.
I like the scenes with Splinter practicing his martial arts while he's still in small rat form in the birdcage.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
was great.
I thought that was awesome, and I know that sound like they mucked up the visuals a bit to give it like that hokey feeling, like this is back in the past before 1990, before you're using the 4:3 resolution, and this is like from the 1970s or something.
Mm-hmm.
They gave it that, and it was really good. I liked those flashback scenes of Splinter testing his abilities as a rat. And then the scene, everybody cries because his sensei and his bride both got murdered in the apartment. But I
Mm-hmm.
was cheering for Splinter when, in a fit of rage after watching his owner get killed, he latches onto Shredder's face,
Mm-hmm.
or future Shredder's face, and starts ripping into the skin and scarring him. That made me happy. I
Mm-hmm.
know that's probably not supposed to make you happy, but Bruce was happy when I saw that because it's like, yes, that's exactly what an enraged animal would
James
do.
Saito
But it wasn't
as
just
the
that.
Shredder.
It was the fact
We're
that it
talking
was his
Buckaroo
pet.
Banzai's dad
Mhm.
as the Shredder.
Yeah,
Fucking awesome.
and it
But
works
the
out
thing
so
is, it
well.
was his pet. His pet was trying to defend his master.
Trying
And
to
what do
save
we
him.
all say about our pets, whether it's a bird or it's a lizard or a snake or a dog or a cat? We all think our pet would die for us. You know what I mean? That type of thing. And
No,
it's funny because Bear always talks about how a dog would be loyal to you, right? After you died, laying by your side until somebody showed up. But a cat would just start eating you, that type of thing. And it's just hilarious because most people you talk to them about their pet, they're devastated when their pet dies. So I loved it. I remember when I saw it, I cried my eyes out when Shredder had to try to defend his master when he got, because the only reason he couldn't do something beforehand was because he was in a cage. But once his cage was broken and he leapt up and bit the guy and grabbed his face and ripped his face open to try to get revenge. And he didn't care whether he was going to die or not. That was a selfless act. And who doesn't want their pet to do that for them, or think that their dog or cat would do that for them, or bird or
the
whatever?
pets in this house only are concerned when I go into the kitchen because I will either be making food for myself or them.
Mm-hmm.
And either way, they're going to get a little bit of food. So, yeah, any idea of them coming to my rescue, they might bark. That's about it.
Yeah. Well, that's really, in real life, that's really what will happen, because they aren't alphas. Just like they said, in wolf packs, you have one male and one female that breed, and nobody else in the pack breeds at all. It's just the alpha male and female, and the rest cower down and basically do what they're told. And that's what you have when you have a dog. A dog knows that he's not the master. He does his bidding,
Should not.
whatever your will is. So more than likely, they would be very dedicated to protect you or whatever else, if depending on what breed they are and things like that. But I just loved that part of it. I thought Splinter was freaking cool. I mean, I still do. Just like I thought the creature in
you've never seen the
Werewolf in London was awesome too. That whole creature effects.
The graphic novels of TMNT, they have like poster art from like 83 and early 84 before they got their final design.
Mhm.
when the turtles were in the ooze. I guess
Yeah.
they were taking pointers from Kevin and Peter. When they did the character design, that was like an early, I want to say like 83 version of the turtles.
Mhm.
So that was a cool little Easter egg or whatever you want to call it.
So this movie has like some of the best casting that you could have had for back in 1990. How Corey Haim got affiliated with it, I don't know, but this is a
Corey
role.
Feldman.
Yeah, Corey
Corey
Feldman.
Feldman, my bad. How
He was
got
the
affiliated?
voice. He was only
He's
the
the
voice,
voice,
though.
but he's the voice of Donatello in I think all three movies.
Was this movie? This was after Lost Boys, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
Years
that's
later.
probably why. After seeing how he did as a Frog Brother, I can see why his what do you call it? The person that controls your jobs, his manager
AJ.
would
Yeah.
put him in for a voice job for something like this that it could be potentially a big hit
Well, the thing is
because
that
of who
that's
was
about the
involved.
same time. Wasn't this at the same time where he was going through the drug rehab?
Maybe, I don't know.
I want to think it was because like him and Corey Haim were going into some dark spots in their lives, and this is one of the first times I think he was going through rehab. A voice role would be perfect.
Hmm.
You know, when if you're trying to rebuild yourself and you still need to bring money in, voice acting's not bad. Talk to Connell about that.
But the part was good for him, for his
Yeah.
character, is what I mean. Because when you see him in Lost Boys, his character in that movie, right, as a young teen, and then hearing him voice over a teenager that's a turtle, he's very flamboyant and, boisterous. I just thought they did a very good job at whoever they chose for the different voices for the characters because they seem to fit the characters. You know what I mean? The personalities of the turtles. So I thought they did good. It didn't make you go, "Oh, he sucked." They just picked him because who he was. You see what I mean? He
This
fit.
sounds like something that could be very accurate and true.
Mhm.
They probably need somebody to get someone of profile for the film insurance, and insurers have requirements for a certain level of profile in the cast. So at the
Mhm.
time he gets attached to it, he's the biggest name, and so he levels up the entire crew to where they could get a better brokerage for their insurance. I could
Mhm.
understand that.
Well, Jim
Which they
Henson
would
was
need.
attached to it. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
Jim Henson was attached to the movie too.
Jim
Judith
Henson.
Hogue kind of made comments about the way that the stunt people were treated and whatnot. And it's like, well, you're working with Golden Harvest, so it's not exactly Hollywood. They got a totally different level of professionalism, respect, whatever you want to call it.
Hmm. Well, I thought they did an excellent job in the cast. Even the sets and stuff, like with the actual sewer. I mean, it was like they were actually walking through sewers with the sounds, the dripping water, and the enclosure of
They
it.
were.
Yeah, but I'm saying you could see it. It came across on screen, so it didn't look
No.
like.
I mean, no, it wasn't fake.
Oh, I know it was real, but I'm saying it mattered because you felt like you were actually in a sewer walking along with them, and you felt closed
I see what
off.
you're saying.
You know what I mean? By watching it as a
It
viewer,
wasn't just like a set piece or anything like that.
it was.
Yeah,
They
it
did a
didn't
really
look
good
like a
job
backdrop.
at doing that. The only thing I had a problem with was you see her showing them around inside the business that used to be her father's, right? The antique shop, and the angles, the way that they filmed it when they came down the stairs and the angle of the room, they made the room look like it was a bedroom size almost. And then you saw all these people fighting in it, and it was like, where'd all the room come from? I don't know. I just had a really hard time adjusting for that. But I was looking for stuff to find that I didn't agree with. That was one scene that I had a hard time after I realized how little it was, and they made it look bigger in some views, but it was supposedly the same room. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of lame. But
I like the dude
take it away
from the Foot Clan when they're fighting in April O'Neil's apartment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I call him the Axe Man because he rolls up and he's got all these pole axes.
Yeah, that was hilarious too.
And then everybody's hacking up the apartment.
And like,
how do you get that job? Like,
it was like
you suck at martial arts? Well, here, you can be the guy that holds the axes.
It was like somebody in the group said, okay, page so-and-so, tell him to bring us some more weapons. Or something. I don't know. It was kind of, it just stood out a little bit. Yeah, that
all the good things are
also
gone. I have this bundle of Gary Gygax's pole arms. You guys want to use those?
Yeah, it was just great. I mean, but it
not
was
to mention the axes are not very ninja-y. I mean, not to sound Hollywood, but axes are big, heavy axes are not even in real life not ninja-y. A little hand axe because it could be thrown or quickly snapped out. Yes, a big all honking axe like that. No.
Like I could see them going the anime route, and some dude in a trench coat just like randomly starts handing out hand axes. But there's this ninja dude with freaking 20 pole arms, and they're all grabbing.
North Carolina
hilarious
PvP server, the North Carolina PvP server, where the level 2 ninja Foot Clan guy walks up to the man in the overcoat on the corner. I just think about that. We were getting our ass kicked. These guys in foam suits are kicking our ass. Listen, all I got's these old hand axes. Not really. I got pole axes. You like pole axes? What do you think of halberds? I got halberds.
But like the one scene that was funny, there was actually cars, in a lot of the scenes on the street at night. Which was funny because have any of you guys ever really been to New York?
Yes.
They drove around. Nobody moves. The cars pretty much stand still 24 hours a day. They're all honking. And when the light's red, the other ones are going. It was just horrible. I hated it. I will never drive there again as long as I live. It was horrid, but it was very dead. I mean, I just thought it was funny because it was like, you're right. It was like a dead city. The subway was nobody. The streets hardly had anyone on them. But the one realistic scene that I thought was the part where they were getting pizza delivered, right, to the grate on the ground and on the sidewalk, and the piles of garbage. Now I saw that. That was realistic to me. The dinginess, it was nasty. I mean that's what it really looked like in the areas that I drove by.
So the 30 minutes or less thing was a throwback. Like, oh yeah, I remember when we used to have pizza orders 30 minutes or less, and then people started getting into accidents over pizza delivery. Mm-hmm. Good times.
But the fact that he was riding a little scooter, that was believable to me because I remembered seeing lots of people on scooters in big cities. And that was the way.
Domino's or Pizza Hut that started that?
Who, what? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Go ahead, Crafting. What'd you say?
Oh, I was saying, you know where that accidents for that 30-minute delivery started from, right?
No.
If the employee didn't deliver the pizza in 30 minutes, it came out of their paycheck.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
I had a few friends who did delivery. Whenever they do the 30 minutes or less, if you do not deliver the pizza in time, it comes out of your paycheck.
So 80%, according to our friend T-Virus Terrence, this is 80% of the people who watch this movie, they've never read a comic for TMNT in their life, which is really sad because there's some good plot lines. And
look at how many people don't read Marvel comics but went to all the Marvel movies. All my sisters went and saw almost every one of the movies because I bragged about them, but not one of them read comic books. So there you go. That's a fact. I'm sure he's right about that.
It's been
like even the reboot of whatchamacallit, Nick Castle, the Punisher, with Thomas Jane. Like, totally opposite from what the comics were.
We get it.
It was interesting, and it was a cool character. Like, it was a pleasant spin. It wasn't like a horrible casting job. Like, yeah, you could get somebody more physical and whatnot, but yeah, it's interesting how movies just kind of get warped from the source material.
Well, it's because they're trying to get a larger audience. They're trying to water it down to make it more pliable for different races, sexes, age groups, all that.
Sometimes.
That's what they're
There's
doing.
Also those people that think that. Sorry.
Do what?
There's also those people that take a look at stuff like this, saying, "Well, in some cases, yes, you're right. That's what happens." But there's also people who, plenty of them, are people take one look at this. Well, I can do better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that too.
And it's like
that, but that's a person who's already got money and established in the business to be able to get people to be able to make.
I've actually heard. I've actually heard of not from you, but from a few other people I do know who've worked in Hollywood and things like that. That's even common, at least nowadays, even at the low level. Like, that's part of the reason why you get stuff like the RoboCop movie. That wasn't trying to appeal to a greater audience. That was literally a crappy director who literally thought he could do better than the original. And I'm not saying that from actually.
They usually flop.
Yeah, and look at the movie. It was crap. Absolute fucking dog shit.
But also, just like I've said many times, when I saw what they did to Deadpool in the Wolverine movie, and I love Wolverine. Okay, I didn't like the fact that they picked Hugh Jackman because Wolverine was short and stocky. It was not a Hugh Jackman type body build or anything. So I wasn't happy at first, but I thought that Hugh Jackman did a good job at portraying Wolverine's character to me as a reader of the comic book. So I was able to, bend and sway with it, and it got better. But when you have someone like what they did with Deadpool, and I don't know what they did. I don't know why they did what they did at the ending. I got up and left. I was so pissed. So I didn't get to see the ending till years later because I was so pissed off about what they did to the Merc with the Mouth. It was like, I don't know. I was just really pissed off at that time that I saw it. And then when I found out Ryan Reynolds was going to do it himself and trying to get backers and stuff, I was rooting him on, hoping he could do it because I really believed that he could that he was perfect as the Merc with the Mouth. I just couldn't picture after I saw him before they turned him into the whatever it was they tried to turn him into, which wasn't Deadpool.
They neutered his character.
Yeah, it was horrid. But before that, he was perfect. He was a total jerk-off asshole, but he was excellent killer. He did all the things that I expected him to do to make me think he was the Merc with the Mouth, and then all of a sudden, it was shit. So the fact that he took that on himself and came out with what it is, I'm thankful to see how well it progressed because he knew what he wanted it to be, and it became that. Okay, and I wish they do that more, but I can understand from the movie side why they water it down and try to do it. That's why I try to give them like with Bruce not wanting to go see the Dungeons and Dragons movie. I told him, I said, well, if you try to step back away from it and watch it as someone who doesn't play the game, who doesn't understand it at all, or see it that way, or understand what role-playing games are, I think you'll like it. You'll enjoy it more if you do that. Because I thought they did a very good job at making somebody that has never done it want to play the game, to want to learn about it and do it. And the dragon.
Well, my thing is, Janet, with the new D&D movie. Mm-hmm. If I want to see a D&D movie, I want to see something like Under Siege, not Guardians of the Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
I want something gritty. I want something serious. I want something bloody.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have
Dragon Slayer. We want Dragon Slayer.
An adult-made game movie. Yeah, I understand that. But you play.
I don't have any. I don't have anything against it other than that. It's just not what I want to see in a D&D movie.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's why they made it the way they did, because it was for people, not us.
I'm
Yeah,
not totally against, people doing their own thing, because like look at Dolph Lundgren doing The Punisher, and then Sylvester Stallone doing Cobra, which is basically his version of The Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're kind of hokey by today's standards, but they're great action films for beer and popcorn type of thing. But yeah, they're not absolute trash where you're looking at it thinking, God, I wasted, what was it at the time, like $2.50 to $5 for a movie. Like now you're going to be spending $40 plus at the theater. So,
but the guy that sat down and drew out the Ninja Turtles on a napkin, talking to another person about what he wanted to do, and then see what it progressed into over time. That's what all of us want. All of us would like to see something like that. That we could put something down and get the people to believe in us enough to help us become successful. I mean, like Bear and Crafting Gamer and you, Bruce. I want to see you all succeed, because I think all of you have wonderful ideas, and I would like to see other people be able to sit down and see your vision come to life while they play. You see what I mean? But I can see that. But until we get the right person to help you get there, I don't know how to do it. Yeah, I'm just not that. I don't have that in me, but I would love to see it happen. And that's the thing. It's like a 1 in a million. It's like winning the lottery, basically, on all of this. So the fact that Mutant Ninja Turtles comic book became a movie, it was like winning the lottery, basically, because it boosted it, and it worldwide, not just in a small little genre of people that buy comic books. And so we have to look at it also that way, that, I don't know how to explain it.
It did help that Eastman was trying to promote the comic, and he had options for like television series and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
But after he let the cartoon go and they kind of like made their own characters and stuff, and it was kind of veering off from his original vision, he had to pull back the reins and kind of get back in to later iterations of it.
Well, if it'd been the person who wrote the story out or wrote the comic books, that person, okay, if that person had been the one to make the movie and then make the series and then make whatever else, that way you wouldn't have seen such a swing back and forth of different things happening to it. But see, it doesn't usually work that way. It doesn't usually isn't usually handled by that person. That person either sells it to somebody else or just takes a huge chunk of money to just come in and say, yeah, this is what I would do, or I would add this or that. It's not really their vision anymore, you see. And that's
because of how television was like tweaking some of the characters. Like they made what was the character's name? Venus. It was the female turtle.
Yeah,
that like rubbed him the wrong way, because like he didn't want it to go into all this weird stuff. So him and
Laird
and Peter Laird, they formed God, what was it called? Xeric, the publishing firm.
Yes.
Like for independent comic books. And then like that actually took off and increased the rights of independent comic book creators. Like, hey, you want to self-publish? We got an open platform for you. Have at it. So that was like a cool thing.
Yeah, that's good, because somebody else saw potential in something, and they were an entrepreneur themselves, so they did something about it. And that's what I'm saying. I wish we could have more people be successful when it comes to certain things that have to do with comic books or that style of genre. Look how big cosplay has gotten because of Comic-Cons and things like that. More and more normal people are starting to go, hey, that's cool. Let's go to this and check it out one day. You know, they don't go for the 4 days and sign up for the classes and go see all the little intricate details in the back rooms and stuff like people like I do. I mean, that's what I do. I want to do all that stuff. But other people like, I don't want to do that. I just want to walk around and look at what they're selling, and I want to see people in costumes and stuff. That's it. You know, they're not there for the same purpose that a person like me or maybe one of you guys would be there for, you see. Or you're going there to have your own booth or dress up and make money that way, or you know, or you've got a job.
I blame World War II on that.
You're assisting other
You
people.
drop 2 nuclear bombs on a country, it scars them, and then they start making interesting anime with huge explosions, and then they start dressing up like those anime characters, and it all spirals out of control. So,
well,
yeah, I think
I'm saying, and if people like it or they're interested, then people will pay money and go see it. You know, like the Star Trek show. Every time I went to Vegas, I would go to the hotel and do the Star Trek experience, even though I'd already seen the whole thing VIP. Every time I went, I loved it. Every single time I went, I enjoyed it. Sometimes I'd wear costumes, other times I didn't, but lots of other people were in costumes, and I'd go and have dinner at Quirk's bar. You know, that's just what I would do, and it was always people there. So in a big city like that, you can make money off the nerddom if you want, if you have the means to do it. But because there's always going to be somebody that wants to see it or go dabble in it in some form. But you know, you take a risk, and it's harder to get backers to do that type of thing. You know, that's going to indulge in your you wanting to get people to see it. You know, but you can. I mean, you can but you have to have, you know, the right people to help you be successful. And it might flop. And there's 10,000 more flops than there are wins in all of it. But you know, I'm glad people are still taking risks. I wish they took more. I wish we could have more risks being taken. I think we'd have so much more wonderful, cool stuff.
I think T-Virus is on something here. We have people that are ruining the source material to quote unquote get a larger audience, and most people just don't read the comics. You can be faithful to the comics. The people won't know if the comic or if the media they're watching is faithful or not. So just write the comics, rewrite the comics, or take the storyboards, and just if you need storyboards, there's a comic book. Take everything there and port it over, and use that as your storyboard to do your media with, be it a cartoon or a movie or whatever it may be, because a lot of folks don't know this material. They can't do the material justice. Only the fans can. So just go ahead and make it as true to the original that you can. And if you're not able to do that, if you're one of these narcissists that says your idea is better, I hope you don't have people watch your movie, which is why I never saw RoboCop 2014. I knew that was a shit show, and I fucking embraced Paul Verhoeven and Basil Podoros' music and Peter Weller's amazing performance. I cannot get enough of a good thing, especially when the remake comes out and it pisses all over the original material. That's why you'll never see me saying we're going to have a party watching Ghostbusters 2016. We're never going to have
the only thing that I found cool about 2014 RoboCop was the scene where he's basically hanging on a hook with all his internal organs and wires hanging out. And like, I'm thinking, okay, like reality wise, that's probably more true, that they would have all these weird gizmos hooked up to him and he'd be flayed out. But the other 99.999% of the movie was crap.
Them leaving his human hand with a robotic body was stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
Oh, well, so you have a sense of touch. And crush his own hand the first time he goes to touch something, let alone punch something.
I would. And the one thing T-Virus is very adamant about is the comics. The comics are violent as fuck. The TV show that I loved, that I watched when I was a young kid, nowhere near as violent. Maybe 5% as violent as the comics. when I was 17 and I picked comics up for the first time, I was amazed. I had never seen that level of gore in a comic book before. And I saved money up, and I could have bought other things that had equal amounts of gore, but it didn't have the name recognition for me that TMNT did. So when I did that, I was kind of just flabbergasted. There were some changes that were definite, and those comics are amazing. The only thing I don't like about the comics is that the thing I felt the TV show did better is that April O'Neil, for me, fits her better as a journalist, not as a lab assistant. I don't need her to be a lab assistant. I have Donatello. Donatello is a very fucking smart, very smart character. He's one of the smartest characters that has been brought into quote unquote mainstream viewing because he does overanalyze everything. And I love Donatello for that. I don't
And he
need
wasn't portrayed as a nerdy
no.
pocket protector wearing type. It was like legit. This guy is intelligent, and he's crafting some cool shit.
Well, I wanted to say something to T-Virus. When I got to watch Star Trek Continues, which was fan-based, fan-made, basically, it showed me and it proved to me that good Star Trek can still be made with the original characters. There's millions of stories that could be made to make it good if you have people that give a shit about what Star Trek was and what it was, why it was made for people that love Star Trek, the original. So it can be done. It's just that people, for some reason, the people that own the rights don't want to make it good again, but it can be done.
That's where independent studios excels over dinosaur mega companies like Hollywood.
You can't get the rights to make it. I mean, they couldn't make one penny off of it. The people that made Star Trek Continues, not one dime could be made, even though everything was donated, all the stuff, all the people that worked, every single thing that was done, they couldn't make a cent off of it because the people.
But they did it, and they proved that it could be done.
That's right. So it can be done, which makes them look even worse because they say, "Oh, we're doing it. We're doing this, that, and the other," and that's why they don't want anybody making money off of it. See, if they were smart, they would say, "Hey, these people were freaking awesome. We want to see if we can hire these people, this group of people, to write a whole new series for us." But instead of doing that, they just gave them a big fuck you, and they don't give a shit. You see what I mean? That's where the problem is. The people that are in charge and that own the rights to all the shit don't care about us as the people that love that content or want to see that content and that be true to it. They don't give a shit about us. They want to use it as an agenda. So that's why we're out. But we know that it can be done because we've seen a little bit here, a little bit there, that it can be done. There's still people out there.
I've also watched
the drive
because my parents still occasionally watch some of those newer Star Treks. I've seen some of the behind the scenes stuff. You'd be amazed how many of those people genuinely believe in, love, and honestly, truly enjoy writing those weird, fucking agenda-based stories. And they think they are absolutely fucking brilliantly amazing.
Their own echo chamber, basically.
Well, they believe it. They
but,
believe
it's not as large as I'd like it to be, but we are making a change slowly, ever so slowly, to better content. Because look at how much crap has come out that obviously it was just shit when it was first written, totally agenda driven, and it's bombed. Like the Alkalite.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like saying that.
Yeah. Well, that's one of those shows that if you watch the behind the scenes, at least one of the writers isn't agendified. They literally think they are doing good writing. They aren't doing it because of its agenda. They aren't doing it because they're woke. They actually have bought the milk and think they're doing good writing.
Because they're being taught that it is. Just like what you're seeing with doctors that aren't being taught to heal people anymore. They're taught to extend their life through medicine, pills. Totally different. Two different things.
If you live in a cave, all you're going to see is shadows, right?
So, you know, these younger generations are being taught that's writing, that this is good, that's good, you know, even though it's not. So, but you'd think that over time, when they're making no money and they're having to be paid off this way or that way to fill in the gaps, and then you get to see something like Deadpool and Wolverine make what, $1 billion? You'd think that all the people that have stock in Disney and all these other companies that are flops, making flops, would say, hey, why can't we make that movie? Why can't we make that kind of content anymore? So where are those people? Where are the people with balls that actually say, hey, we can make money and not have to force stuff down people's throat? You know
Well,
what I mean?
that's the whole globalist agenda. They got
That's the
control
problem.
and stock and whatnot. So, like, if you want to do business and make the real money, quote unquote, you got to do the agenda.
Because
And
they'll buy stuff. Okay, it's not, you can make money and more money because people are now going to buy the next movie that comes out. They're more likely to see it. They'll buy T-shirts. They'll buy any type of memorabilia that comes out with the dragon, the fat dragon that was in Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not saying anybody else loved it, but if you get people that goes pay for a ticket and they love a character, something from the movie, they'll go out and buy a shirt. They'll go out and also buy a toy or whatever item. That's why the lunch boxes, all the things from Star Wars, they made buku dollars because people loved the characters. They loved the story, and they would go back and they'd see the movie again and again at the movie theater and then bought it when it came out because it was good stuff. And then over time, as it's gotten watered down and dragged out, and they kept pushing stuff that nobody wanted, they're slowly finding out that they're not making as much money as they were hoping they would, and they're propping it up in other ways, which I just don't understand how that works, because I'm not a billionaire.
It's the Marxist agenda. As long as the people in power have you doing their program, you can lose all the money that you make in a year and they will still finance you.
Yeah, I just don't understand.
It's not about making money anymore. It's about pushing the agenda.
Yeah, but till we cut the strings of our purse and our wallets to these people and say, we're not buying your product anymore, and completely do it.
It's
all
possible.
The people,
I can fucking prove that. It is,
I know,
very
but all the people that went on and on about the NFL doing some of the things that they did and taking the knee and doing all this shit, I'm not going to go watch it anymore. It wasn't even 2 months later, I heard people talking about some game, and I go, I thought you said you weren't going to watch football. Well, I'm just not watching it at the openings anymore. And I go, fuck you. I just walked off because they have no balls. They can't even go one season without watching it and stand up for something, because that's where we are. That's why we are in the position we are, because people wimp out instead of finding another avenue to enjoy, to fill in the gap from what you're losing over there, because you're buying into their crap. You are feeding them. That's why they keep doing it. They're not going to stop doing it, because there's too many dumbasses like that keep giving them money to be treated like secondhand piece of shit. You know what I mean? I'm sorry. I don't mean to get so political, but that's the truth. That's the only reason why they keep doing it, because of those people. Remember what happened with Bud Light? Okay. And all the people said, F you, this is bullshit. I'm not buying Bud Light. And they didn't. People stood their ground and didn't buy it. And what happened? They started going, wow, we screwed up. We really made a big mistake. And they started trying to fix it. Okay, they started working on it, and they do the same thing with all of this stuff. If we would just say, F it, we're not buying your shit, we're going to the next stuff, we're going somewhere else. TV's hurting, lots of news channels are hurting and stuff, because people are turning off the television and getting their news other places. So if we just fight and stand up for what we believe in, if we stand up and we stay together and we outlast them, we'll win.
You can stay away from like Disney and Hasbro. Mm-hmm. You can stay away from mainstream peddlers of shit, because there's a lot of stuff out there that you haven't opened up the covers on yet. There's a lot of things that if you go and explore, you'll find out that your little walk through uncomfortable land out of the land of convenience is going to pay off and you're going to find a media, you're going to find a storyline that you really like. You're going to go into a bookshop or a used bookstore and be like, oh my God, here's the lost books from the Vampire World of Darkness novels that I never had a chance to read. And you're like, okay, I really got into that. And now, you put on a local Yahoo groups or your Facebook or your meetup. You're like, I'm looking for this group of people that are wanting to play a D10 system. And next thing you know, you're finding like 40 people
La
in your
Skeleton of
inbox.
Cadabra.
Terrence, you take care of yourself, sir. It's always good to have you. You find people that are wanting to play something that they can forget current day is the main takeaway. And by you stepping away from current day crap and going to where the good source of enjoyable material is, you're going to actually empower others through your actions by just merely talking about it. And you're going to hear people say, yeah, I got rid of cable, or yeah, I started reading my kids the Harry Potter books, or I started doing something else that was better for me. It was healthier for me. And I'm not spending $30 on a movie or a book that I'm only going to read once. And it's halfway through it, I turn it off because it disgusts me. It's really weird, but we don't need a 24-hour news cycle, first off. Second, we don't need to concern ourselves with things. Do we really need to know what Dave Grohl was doing in his bedroom? I can say no. I don't care if the guy that the succubus Taylor Swift has got herself wrapped around, if he looks like shit 8 months after they started fucking. It doesn't matter to me. I'm pretty okay with my judgments on this, and I judge the shit out of everything. It's ISTJ for you Myers-Briggs people. 90% of it in the J, the judgment type, judgment portion of my personality. And I absolutely don't care about what mainstream thinks of me. They've already made it known they don't care about my feelings. I'm just a plebe that plays in sanitation, and they can find 30 of me with just like a half step. Okay, go ahead, go do it. But I'm going to stick strong to this because for the last 5 years, I've not given Disney a single fucking dime. And I'm going to continue to shit on Disney and shit on these people that ruin good products with their new, oh, well, we're going to do this storyline. We're going to do that. We're going to do Lady Thor. And do whatever the fuck you want. I'm still not going to give you money. I'm going to enjoy the things that I enjoy despite what you think you need to put out. And that's all there is to it. For my friends that have Disney Plus, I'm ashamed of you. Mainly for the fact that we all knew that a lot of these guys involved with Disney Plus was involved with Epstein. They were on the flight logs. We don't need to support them. We don't need to give a shit about anything they do. And you can go back in time. Things were still bad back in the 90s. We talk about Corey Haim and Corey Feldman getting their buttholes gored out by various producers and various con men. And those poor kids went through a lot. But over the course of time, things have changed and it's become acceptable, almost demanded, that you talk about this. Not just, the sexual crimes against women, but the sexual crimes against men. Terry Crews has a story, okay? I would love for us to be able to exist in a period of time to where we can talk honestly and frankly about what's gone on behind closed doors, and we can still enjoy the media and the efforts that these people put themselves through to try to make something, because I do want to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all the way up to about 2013. That's where it stops for me. It doesn't stop, but there's gaps because they say they put out product that says TMNT. It's not TMNT as I know it. It's something else, and it's
I think the
source
was
material.
The 2003 cartoon kind of was hitting those marks and ran from 03 to 09 or 010, something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't a bad show. The April was still hot. I mean, I know that doesn't mean much to most of you, but I need my
But it's
April O'Neil to be like
confusing as hell to me because, like, I remember the '80s cartoon, and then I kind of stopped watching it. My brother was back and forth on some things, and so like revisiting the various reboots and whatnot, it's hard to keep up with all the changes, and it was like, okay, well, why did they go that route? Doesn't interest me anymore. So,
Well,
like, as
see,
long as you can stay fairly true to the source material or the spirit of what you're producing, you should stick with that and
the
not
thing
try to do the latest greatest thing, because like Hollywood, all they're in it for is the masses, because they're controlled by outside influence and the feds, and right now we've got a hostile government, and it's just not good
well, one thing
consuming their material.
I want to add to what you're saying is the fact that you're still seeing merchandise at stores for a lot of the things that we loved from comic books, right? And from old movies that came out when we were kids. And the reason is because it made an impact. Those things made an impact on us. So we will still purchase that old T-shirt from the old movie, from like old Star Wars or an old Star Trek movie or whatever. Or a toy. If you saw a toy at a store in a markdown bin that was from one of the movies that you watched when you were young and it inspired you, you were going to buy it. So there's still potential to save these hallmarks that were ours when we were young to a whole new generation if somebody loved it as much as we did but had the means to be able to do that. See, and that's why I think it's great when you see young people like Crafting Gamer, right? That's inspired by writing his own story and wanting to put it out there with his own characters and stuff. And to me, us people that are his friends promoting him, wanting to help him, and if I'll do whatever I can to help him be successful. If I knew the right people to introduce him to, I would do it, because there's so few of those left that have the grand scheme of something that could make so many people happy, because they don't know it yet. See, they've never played. They don't know how much fun they could have, but they'll sit and they'll play with those other handheld games for hours and hours. You see, we just somehow have to get it out there where they can see it and want to play it. See, but lots of people get
That's
washed
where
up.
these hobbies actually come into play. Like, I see all you crafting types, and you're doing your minis, you're doing your terrain, all of that, and it just makes me think back to, like, if you've ever seen the behind the scenes images or seen a documentary on like Blade Runner, and the amount of detail that they put into the miniatures of the city.
Yeah,
it's freaking amazing. You got Industrial Light and Magic, who set off the whole sci-fi craze with the amount of detail. Even the old Star Trek, like some disposable razors and some plastic bits and pieces, like all of that became iconic miniatures, figures, models, you name it. It was just absolute talent. And, these people were probably kid bashing models as kids. And then they move on to stuff like this, and then it becomes a cultural icon.
Well, getting back to
So,
Jana saying that she wants Bruce to be successful, that partially comes from what you do beforehand. Like, for example, Bruce has seen one of them. I got to make more of them, but I've made I don't know what it'd be called. I have to figure out what it's mod or supplement or something like that for a Pathfinder style game.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually a pretty good place to start when you're going to produce a game, because then you at least have your name out there to a degree. People, oh, He's made these before. I liked them. Well, better check out his book.
I started laughing because I remember Grug's comment yesterday's game about Crafty's gifts.
Yeah, I know, but I'm happy to have it. I've talked to everybody. I show everybody that comes to my house the stuff that I've gotten, like my sign that had my neon sign up. I'm happy because the fact that someone liked me enough to want to give me something to me isn't like a badge of honor, because they liked me. They were good people, that I have good friends. I brag about that a lot, and I hopefully are the lifetime friends, because I'm not a person that just says, "Oh well, see you later." I don't just forget about people. I'm one of those bulldog friends that grab in, and you're not going to get rid of me that easy. I hate to say that, but that's my personality, and I know I can get on people's nerves because that's just my personality. But
Yeah, you got to be like a total asshole.
Oh,
right for his dick in order for me to. Wow.
Oh, what's its name?
Name him Simba.
I'm not technically naming these. These are going to be farm cats, so I'm just keeping them until they're old enough to move on. But if anything, I'm going to nickname this one Climber, because within 15 minutes he climbed up my leg twice.
Oh, so cute.
He obviously likes you.
Yeah, my 2 baby chicks, I'm going to have to
Obviously.
find a home for one of them because it's a rooster. I think it's going to be a rooster. So I can't keep it.
And if not, you can always have Kakavine.
Yeah, it'd be about the size of a Cornish hen if you eat them. So it's not going to be a very big meal.
Crispy chicks.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, baby girl.
Crunchy chick.
Crunchy chicks, yes. I doubt Janet gets that reference.
Crispy chicks. Yeah, it's going to be
chicks.
like, you're crunchy, you're cooking it to eat. I thought.
No, there's a game, Fable.
It's a Fable reference.
Fable 2. In Fable 2, you can join an evil cult where you sacrifice people, but to do so, you have to eat 5 live baby chicks, and you hear crunching every time you eat it.
Oh, that's disgusting. No, I'd never heard of that before. Sorry.
It's got a good and bad karma system, so like the more horrible things you do,
in the second
the more evil
game,
you get, the more good you do.
Yeah, in the second game, it's a little more jokified, really, how it works, because if you go full evil, you are literally a demon. You get big horns, your skin turns bluish, weird colors. Though there was a hilarious story on that one. I did a full evil alignment, but did everything in the spotlight good, so everybody loved me. Even though I looked like a freaking demon. So what I would do is I'd literally gather like 20 or 30 followers, like, oh yeah, we'll follow you. I'll take them to the place where I said you could sacrifice people, and I'll literally just sacrifice 20 people at a time. According to them, according to the monk, I have their record for sacrificing the most people at once.
Well, I just want to say something else about the movie. To me, I think it was, I don't know, it brought back a lot of memories, especially when they always talked about pizza and stuff, and I never really was a big pizza person myself. Maybe it's because I've always had a gluten sensitivity, and I just didn't realize that, that I had one, but I just never really, I'd always eat salad or cheese sticks and other things instead of pizza. But the whole thing about fixing families, basically, even if it wasn't your own child, that you adopted a child, that type of thing. I just thought that the whole movie was based on that. And to me, I wish we had more of those types of movies, centered on repairing your family and fighting for the ones that you love. You know what I mean? That type of thing. I just love those types of movies. And to me, that's not a romantic movie. I don't know. I don't know what you would put that in, but it shows.
It's a wholesome movie.
Yeah, well, wholesome, but I mean, it's you can have movies that have a lot of action and fighting and things like that in it, as long as you see the people being redeemed, people learning from their mistakes, people
A
seeing
good example would be Uncle Buck
yeah, that too. That was a really, really good movie also.
or
But
Dutch. Dutch was another one.
name a movie that was made in the last 10 years that has that quality that you can name. I mean, I'm trying to think of one.
Nope,
I can't really think of one.
they don't exist.
So I just wish we had more of that, because that's one reason why I told Bruce I love doing these older movies, because they just have such better stories, better character arcs, just a lot more quality, and they had to really work hard to make sets and costumes and things like that, because they didn't have a thing where they could just push a few buttons and have miraculously have a castle and whatever it is that they want. They didn't have to go out and build it or think about how they're going to find, where are they going to film this, if it's going to be a scene on Mars or some other planet, where can we go in the world to find a backdrop for this? Now they just snap a thing on a computer and they got a backdrop. They don't even have to look for a place, a location. So people like location managers are going to be non-existent. I just see a lot of changes, and not for the better, because to me, like that movie, I keep bringing that one up, the one that you got me to watch about the gamers, Darkness Rising, the work they had to take for the people to come up with everything they needed just to put a scene together. And if you look at this movie, look at the work they had to go through for all the costumes, for all those young extras, and to train these people how to act like they knew kung fu or some type of martial arts, in that many people all fighting all in one room, and just little things like that. The extra work they did to make the movie good. Okay, it wasn't just something they could just push a couple buttons on a computer and voila, there you go. I just like it. I just like the hard work that you can see that pays off.
Practical effects.
Yeah, practical effects.
Puppetry, because the close-ups, that's all puppetry. Mm-hmm. And they're wearing the animatronic head on top of, so you got the physicality of the actor, the stunt body, whatever you want to call it.
And remember,
and then you got the voice actors.
Voices were put on later.
It's a hell of a lot more complicated than the CGI-ridden stuff that we've got now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I think so. I just want to make sure I said that. So, anybody else have anything they want to add about the movie?
There's a lot we could just, this movie, we'll say two things about the movie and then we go off on another half hour somewhere. But I gotta say that this movie was just watching my childhood come back, and it was enjoyable to dip myself in it, because the fact that you have this wonderful film, which is at its core, like you've already said, Six Nations. This movie's theme is mainly about patriarchy, about a strong father giving direction to his family. And you have both examples here. One good example, and that'd be Master Splinter. And you have the bad example, Shredder. Everybody thinks when they're a teenager that they want to do their own thing and they want to be the boss of their own life. And these kids took a chance and they got away from their parents and they started hanging out with Shredder and the Foot Clan, and probably a lot of them realized not long after that this was a bad decision. A lot of us are spared that possible reality because we don't have that opportunity to go down such a horrible path. But this movie does a fine job of showing what can go wrong. And I think that this is a movie that you should probably put in your list of films you could show your younger relatives, the ones and nieces, the nephews you love, your kids. Mm-hmm. And you should probably do that, because this movie is not in any danger of getting forgotten anytime soon. It's one of the most popular movies that's been inspired from a comic book ever. The only other movie I think it could really give it a good comparison would be the film from 1989's Batman, or maybe The Dark Knight from 2008. Those two movies, of course, Batman films, are the only other comic book films I think they're very close to the source. This movie does a really good job of just being enjoyable. You look at it at so many different layers. From the technical aspect of this film, I'm still blown away by it. The fact that the stuntmen were able to do such good maneuvers with wires and their own physicality, I thought that was great. The fact that you have the turtles being about as accurate as you could get with a 90s script when they didn't really value comic books back then.
Mm-hmm.
They hated comic books. Hollywood does not like
Case in
comic
point,
books.
what was it? Captain America, 1990s. Yeah. Oh God!
I'm talking about the one with Reb Brown.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome one. How you doing, sir?
I love that movie, but it's painful to watch.
Yeah, it is. The TV, the NBC TV movies of the Marvel comics were painful as well. I don't know if you remember those, but I sure do.
I like The Flash. The Flash was kind of cool.
Yeah, The Flash
It
was
was done
okay.
well.
The Thor and Daredevil film was painful to watch.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And at the time, TMNT was independent. This was a completely independent book that was brought out every week or every month, or was it every 2 months? It wasn't. I don't think it was a regular basis. It might have been every 6 weeks that I was able to go pick one up. But this was a really, really good comic book, and the film that they adapted from it about as close as they could get, and make it to have as broad audience as you could have. I would have rather them made it just basically storyboarded from the comics and expected people to understand. No, this is the comics. This is comics brought to live action. It's going to be bloody as hell, but it would have been only an NC-17 film or a rated X because God, that comic book was bloody as shit. So they had to tone it down. Very enjoyable.
Just remember, gentlemen. Oh, all right.
What?
Go ahead.
Oh, and just remember, gentlemen, the April O'Neil in the movie is nowhere near as hot as Janet.
Well, I
That's
already
a given.
had. I'm
sorry, but I actually found that woman kind of ugly.
Yeah, and I even have the white shoes on with the socks.
Just wait till you hear her comments after the film came out, and she was bad mouthing the production. It was not very flattering.
Yeah.
For her.
She wasn't invited for the second or third movie.
Mm-mm. But I wasn't on set, so I have no idea, what kind of problems they might have had. But from what
I can imagine,
he said that she had a lot of leeway with her character, so I don't see why she would be so upset.
I didn't
you
understand
mix a
that.
Chinese production company with Hollywood, you're gonna have some conflict because it's like apples and oranges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And at that time, it was the 90s. Like, we were just getting into the whole Japanese thing with the cars, sushi restaurants and whatnot. So that whole Asian thing, other than bad Bruce Lee knockoffs and cool wuxia kung fu films, like, we didn't have any inkling until the internet was fully realized what was going on.
Well, I'm kind of glad that the movie wasn't violent, as the comic books. I like the fact that you could take a dad could take his 11-year-old son to watch it and see the character arc of the runaway son and how he stole and he apologized and he helped save, Splinter, that type of stuff. I like that. And you couldn't take an 11-year-old and bond with your son over a movie if it was nothing but blood and gore, right? So I liked it. I thought the movie was great. And just like I said, most people that do go see movies like this don't watch it because it was based on a comic book they read. They go watch it because of the trailer or the hype or whatever it is that's in the story that they want to go see. So I like the fact that they did it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't have lots of aspects from the comic book, just like you all said. Every one of you said different things about each of the characters that you connected with. The personality of one turtle compared to the other one, right? So that is what people should go see. Okay, they want to see something that inspires them in some way. Okay, and you're all rooting for the good guy. That's what a movie's supposed to do. It's supposed to bring people together and enjoy it. And you go home and you talk about it to other people. Then when the lunchbox comes out, you want to buy it, or the T-shirt, or the collectibles. That's what was good about the aspect of this, is that the people who wrote the comic book worked with whoever it was that decided to make the movie and made it acceptable for many age groups instead of just older people. And I'm glad they did, because I probably would never have seen it if they hadn't, if it had been R-rated or whatever. So
I would have seen this movie if it would have been R-rated, because they would have used their weapons more.
would your
And that-
parents have let you see it
No.
if you were a
I
kid?
would have-
See, that's what I'm trying to say.
But-
Your parent wouldn't have let you see it.
There's Blockbuster.
Mhm.
This is
My,
still
my parents are an exception.
Yeah, his parents would let him see damn near
My
anything. He
parents
saw
wouldn't have.
heavy metal.
They
So,
wouldn't have let me see it.
okay, we're talking
I've
80s
seen
and the Ninja
I've seen
craze.
the first. Sorry,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I seen the first two Alien movies at 6 years old.
Well, not all parents are going to let their kids see those kind of movies. So I'm just saying it just depends on the circumstances for each person. But I'm thankful that this whole movie, the way it was made, I loved it. I think that everything they did in this movie was the right decisions. I mean, the characters, the people they picked to play the movie, all the characters in the movie, the sets, the direction, the character arcs for the characters, even the music. I'm sure it was a hit back when the movie came out. It may not fit so well today, but I still hear kids singing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I still hear them singing that. So I'm just saying it's made an impact, and I still see people wearing, even adults wearing Ninja Turtle shirts. So it made a difference, I think. And if it hadn't been for this movie, I don't think the whole franchise would have been as successful as it's ended up being. I really don't.
Even Eastman and Laird admit that this movie was crucial to the success they had with the franchise, and it led to later things, more merchandise, more video games. This movie, they neither of the creators want to go back in time and try to rework it or change one thing. They are happy with how this worked out, and that is very rare.
Yes, very rare.
I want the chat. We've already got one guy that he dropped a score before he left. Thank you, Ages Musings. The rest of you that are here, drop your scores in the chat. I am curious. I want to see what you think. And while I'm waiting for those to pop up, crafting. You've seen this movie a few times, right?
Oh yeah.
What is your score, sir? Whatever. What? How do you rate it?
95.
A 95 out of 100. Amazing.
Yep.
Great. Is there anything in particular about the movie you want to notate on there as well, because you feel that we haven't talked about it yet, and we've got gaps in our discussion about the movie here?
Yeah. Not really. Nothing I can think of off the top of my head.
I really understand that. I get it. Six Nations. What is your score,
Yes, sir. Ooh, all right. if I were to filter out nostalgia, just from my reviewing and looking at all the complexity of the film as an adult, not as a 13-year-old, I would say that it's like 78 to 80% nostalgia-wise. Granted, Gen X grew up with kung fu, ninja movies, freaking comic books.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it would be about 85, 86%, because it was that good of a movie. Closest thing to source material that we've ever seen in a film so far. I was an avid fan of the comic. My brother and I collected the toys. Like, we bought into it. It was fucking cool. So yeah, unadulterated. Looking at upper 70s, nostalgia berries and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Upper 80s easily. It's a great movie for families. Like, I can honestly say that. Like, my parents being kind of weird and showed me ultra-violent ninja flicks as a kid. You know, whatever was on TV, do you really want to watch that? And if I said yes, I suffered the consequences, and God bless them for doing that. This is definitely something that you can bring your family, extended family, your neighbors, and not feel like, ooh, what did I just walk myself into? Now, this was a great, wholesome movie. It's got good values. It's got great action, great production value. Soundtrack was okay. It was meh, but it was, a product of its times. We were inundated with the hip hop rap fame with most soundtracks at that time, anyways. So, it's no John Williams or Danny Elfman, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
I highly recommend people review this if you've already seen it. You'll enjoy it a second, third time. For those that haven't seen it, it's out there. Check it out, and then go see the 2 sequels, which didn't do too hot, but it's worth it. Go see the trilogy, enjoy it in its fullest, and then you'll see how good the first movie was.
Yeah, I want to
It's
put
like
in
Jaws in that respect.
my 2 cents now, if that's okay. I'm going to give it an 8.5 because I didn't read the comic books. Okay, so I don't have that to compare it to. Never read it, but I'm just going by simply me watching the movie as a movie, just to come out. Now, I love the character arcs. I thought it showed redeeming qualities on everyone. It showed the evil guy being evil just because he's evil, basically, because he had no redeeming qualities at all. At least I didn't see any. And the sets, the big area where they had the for the skateboards and the all the games and stuff for the kids to play, and they had food and all these different things, and then they gave them the little bandanas to wear, almost like gangs on the street, that type of thing, and how they took all these kids that were street kids to bring them in, starting their basically their own army, an army to steal, be thugs, push people around, and get things done for the adults. They were using children, and I thought that was just disgusting, and I despise that part of it. But that's why I'm giving it a higher score, because of that, because that happens still today, and it shows that people just don't learn. They can see something like this and be happy that the good guy won, but still not want to strive to be the good guy. To me, that's kind of sad. But I saw a few things that I didn't really like. Um, I didn't think the girl that played April was really that convincing as a reporter. I mean, to me, you saw her on TV. So to me, she was like more of a person that just a pundit that just reads a piece of paper, but I never really saw her do anything on the street, like interviewing people or, she just it didn't seem like she was a reporter to me. So that kind of fell flat. That part of her character fell flat. And the fact that she, I don't know, she just seemed nonchalant about her house, and I don't know, just little things that she did. I just had a hard time really getting into her character, but I loved the story behind the turtles, where they came from, how they were found by Splinter, and how he was transformed because he was cast into the sewer, basically. And because he saved the turtles, he began to change himself to be able to be there for the turtles as they transformed. And the fact that he was just a rat, just a regular rat, when he saw the baby turtles and wanted to save them, I just thought that was wonderful. I mean, that's something a lot of people probably wouldn't even notice, but it was the fact that he was an animal that watched his master be killed in front of him and then try to defend him as a rat. Okay, this is not, he wasn't a human yet. He was just a rat. And all that to me made me love the characters. They're iconic characters to me. And I owned lots of things, Ninja Turtle stuff. So I think everyone I knew did. Okay. The sad part was that the son, you never did get to really find out why the son was so upset with his dad. Now, his mother wasn't around, so I don't know if the mother died and that's why he was miserable, or if his mom and dad got divorced and the dad won custody of him, or if his mom was in prison. We just didn't get enough detail on that part of it. But and the fact that he was the boss of April's boss, and that he just casually came over all the time, to me, it would have been more believable if they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
I think that's part of the backstory. They were on the outs of that.
Well, I don't know. I'm just saying they didn't make it specific for me as a person viewing the movie, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to look at it as if I had never seen the movie before, and I'm looking at it to review what I saw in it, because I still thought it was really good. I mean, when it came to the Ninja Turtles personalities, I thought best for they. You could tell that every minute of the day, they looked forward to being with each other. I love that. And I love that Splinter let them be themselves. He didn't expect them to mind every single thing he said. He let them be alive, and enjoy their lives, basically. But he knew that when it was time to get busy or to do work, that they would listen, because he had done a great job as being their parent, their adoptive parent. So I love that aspect of it. But then I thought the whole way it ended at the end was really good. A very good ending to let Splinter be able to get revenge, against Shredder for him killing his lover, basically, or his lover, his father, basically, and his mother. It's basically what happened. Even though he was a rat, but now he's not a rat, so he sees it different than he did when he was just a rat. He's more enveloped or into the relationship of them being his parents. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I viewed it. And I just thought that was wonderful. I loved it. But I'm very into this type of fantasy type of story. You know what I mean? So I recommend it. Anyone that I know that loves comic books or loves fantasy or that type of stuff with puppets and action, and stuff like that. I think a little bit of comedy thrown in. I think you could take your child to this, your son or daughter, if they're like at least, I'd say at least, I don't know, maybe 9 and older. It would be a great movie to sit and watch with your kid and talk about it, afterward. and find out what they thought of it. I think it would be a really good experience for a family to watch. And I wish we had more movies like this, but I do recommend good to watch it. I think it's really, really done very well when it comes to that part of it, even with adoption, because I remember my two oldest sisters were 1 and 2, and my mother married my father, and their mother had died, and he was in the military, and he was told that he was going to have to get out of the military or remarry or have someone else move in to take care of his kids, which he didn't have a lot of money. And he met my mom because my mother worked with his brother, and that's how they met. So my mom was a teenager, got married, and had 2 kids right off the bat. So I believe in adoption, and I wish more children could have the love of an adopted parent. So I love everything about that part of it, of the movie. So I'll shut up now. Let Bruce go. But that's my point of the movie.
If you want to keep discussing reasons as to why you love this movie, I'm not going to step all in on that.
No, I'm just want to let everybody know that that's one reason why I think the whole adoption part of it is really good, because you don't hear that a lot in a movie, about the characters, and the fact that Splinter saw 4 abandoned baby turtles as a rat, not as a person yet, because he hadn't been exposed to the whatever it was in the green goo. But as a rat, he wanted to help them, so he started dragging the little turtles out of the goo. And because of that, he became contaminated and he started to transform. But he did it, it was already in him. It was already his personality to be good and to do good things. So when he did transform, he transformed into even better. But now he had the knowledge because of his brain expanding or whatever, and the fact that he could speak and pass on his skills to the turtles. And I just love that whole story, and the fact that someone came up with that idea to be able to tell it in a childlike manner to adults and kids and get a good story out of it. I think it's phenomenal. I just wish more people could use their imagination and come up with great stories like that, inspiring ones.
I'm going to give this movie an 86 because I think it is a fantastic film. It has some hokey things to it. Some of the one-liners don't hit like they did in 1990, like they do in 2024.
Mhm.
But it's still a very enjoyable film, and it's even more of a testimony that if you're good at your craft and you do something like filmmaking, if you're good, it will last and it will hold up. And the majority of this movie holds up ever so well. This is a film that is a technical marvel. He had, I believe, when they were doing the prosthetics for the face, they had not had that happen to the degree of success they had in this movie, which is it's good because it's a natural progression. You see the Howling and American Werewolf in London were made in '81 by Rick Baker and by Rob Bottin, 2 of the greatest men ever to do makeup effects in the world. And in the course of 9 years, they advanced the craft to this, which was really good. And being able to do the stunt performers as honestly as they did, to have their fights, to throw their kicks and their punches and use their weapons, I I'm still very much amazed at the amount of dexterity they were able to have, the alacrity they had in their movements and kineticism. You don't feel every punch with this movie. It's not Southpaw for any measure, or it's not a Creed movie, but you do feel that the fights have some punch to them because those are characters ambling around in these big 50-pound, 60-pound suits with stuff, makeup, and other things going on. They've got to contort their face to get the mouth to move. Just think of that. And so they're still doing all this real physicality, taxing material, and the movie looks great. There's a
Mhm.
few things in script that don't quite kick off well. Judith Hogue is probably the low point of the movie for me, but she still does try to earn her paycheck when I say try, she half-assed it. She 5.5. There you go. Um, Elias Koteas, on the other hand, I feel he did a really good Casey Jones. I think he really enjoyed the shit out of playing Casey Jones. And you can tell in the recording booth, all the guys that were doing the voice work for these characters, they were enjoying themselves. They were loving their job. You do have one character that doesn't really fit into a lot of the lore. Tetsuo, the second in command for Shredder. Uh, I think his character was. I don't know if he's accurate to the comics or not, but I feel his character in this movie is there should have been a better fight between him and Casey Jones, even though the fight
And
mainly is one sided. Go ahead there, Six Nations.
that character there was a hidden gem.
I agree. I think he's really I think that guy nailed that character pretty well. I just don't like the final fight between him and Casey Jones. I thought it should have taken for like a minute and a minute and a half because that's a long fight in the movie. A minute and a half long fight, that's fucking huge. And so they could have done that, and Casey Jones get his ass the entire time or getting flipped over. Maybe towards the end he starts getting a few jabs in, but once he gets a hold of that golf club, it's all over. And that made me happy. This movie on a level that many modern films will never approach makes me happy, not for retro, not for the feels, but for the love of the craft. And it comes through in damn near every scene. I love the fact that you can watch this and you can look at all the filming locations they had in New York and North Carolina, and you can see that they really had a love for what they were doing when they were filming in the subway tunnels. They did really well with getting the ADR water droplets right. They were able to get everything to feel to sound right. You felt like they did a fantastic job of doing accuracy at the time because we didn't have a good model for comic book accurate in 1990. We really didn't. I mean, if you look at the older comics and then you look at the movies that were released at the time, this was about as close as you could get. And as much as it doesn't really follow the comic accuracy, which is what I would more prefer, yeah, I'd go see an NC-17 Turtles film. I can be happy with this. I am happy with this because Eastman and Laird are happy with this. They made their money on it, but they tell you they couldn't go back in time and change this because there'd be nothing to change. They they feel this movie helped them gain more in terms of notoriety. It enabled them to get a better base for publishing. It allowed them to develop their own business to do independent publishing, and this movie helped pave that way. So,
That was a godsend for independent comic book creators too.
yeah,
That broke
really,
free from the DC Marvel dichotomy that was going on.
yeah. Image wasn't a thing yet, if I remember right. Image wasn't until like '93, if I remember right. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I remember Image Comics was a big factor in the mid '90s because their colors were so much better than Marvel or fucking DC. Uh, I
Mhm.
gotta say, 86 for me out of 100. Not quite a perfect movie, but this is really good. Share it with your
Far
friends.
from a bad movie.
Yeah, but you want to know how this movie's great? You can put Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990 on a television while you're doing a New Year's Eve or while you're doing a family gathering, and you can have that on. Nobody will get upset. The kids will put a phone down or put a tablet down, and they'll go and they'll watch this.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you know this movie still holds up in 2024. Hey, Basco Scenario, how you doing, sir?
I was going to say, like, if a kid watched this today and got interested in like animatronics or puppetry or any of the technical aspects, like all they have to do is excel in STEM, and you've got the next budding director or production studio for cinema 30 years from now.
But even if a kid just wanted to start taking karate classes or learn how to use
Well,
nunchucks to be
that's
more
a given. Like,
all that's all good things. I don't see a lot of
mhm.
negative at any negative really that any kid would want to learn from if they saw this movie. You know what I mean?
Like the influences my bro and I had were Kung Fu, Bruce Lee, and all of that 80s chopsocky schlock. And it made my brother a more disciplined kid with ADHD. It gave me more confidence, although I did everything ass backwards. I should have studied hand to hand before getting into the weapons aspect of martial arts. But that was my flub. But it helped me to become a better driver, stay focused on the road. It was improving my health. I got to learn about cultures and whatnot. Like this movie, if you're a young kid watching it, there's a lot of positive role models.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Don't see that anymore.
Yeah, even the kid, even the boy Danny, okay, he's a positive influence on a young man that would watch this that's having problems with whatever's going on, being bullied at school, uh, fighting with his siblings, not getting along with his dad, didn't make very good grades in school, any of these things. I could see that kid or a girl, even a girl, having difficulty, you know, uh, in their life, fix finding something in this movie to inspire them and think about why is it they're mad, you know, what can they do, can they take some classes to learn how to kickbox to defend themselves against bullies, you know, things like that. I just see all positive stuff from this movie, and it's even more positive if you could watch it with an elder, you know, like your grandmother or your grandpa or your older sibling or a younger sibling, and if you watch it and it inspires you in some way to better yourself or to tell someone you're sorry for being me, I'm sorry I was a bully to you, or I was, you know, or any of these things. I just think it's, I don't see negatives. See, that's one thing I really liked about it, is the fact that it, to me, it was inspiring, because it, all it did was it made you want to be better, a better person. I like that. I love movies like that myself.
Next week, we will be watching the film The Book of Eli from
Mhm.
2009, starring Denzel Washington and Gary Oldman. If you wish to find a seat with us while we view it, have some discussion before or after, come to my Discord, which should be located within my channel notes or possibly even the notes for this for today's session.
Mhm.
And we would be happy to have you. We'll be doing the discussion of the movie on StreamYard, and that will be the final StreamYard I believe I'll be using on my quote unquote paid account,
Mhm.
because they have decided to raise their rates 125%. The original owners and creators of StreamYard have left the building. They've sold it to a new group of people. I wish
Mhm.
them luck, but they've made a fatal error by jacking the price up from $50 to 90 for what I was doing with two cameras and multiple seats, et cetera, et cetera. We're
Mhm.
going to restream in mid October, and looking forward to many happy returns with that. For those of you that have not had food yet, there is pizza delivery available. Janet will be Janet will have a wonderful jumpsuit in her repertoire to pull out whenever we do other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle things, which I'm so happy she has that yellow jumpsuit. It's great, and we look forward to seeing you next Sunday for what we will be doing with the Book of Eli. Now
Mhm.
I'm going to be
Excited.
quiet, and if the crafting gamer wants to plug anything,
Uh, uh,
If you don't have any
people
plugs to
like
plug, that's good.
the Appendix N, come over to shut. Oh,
You
but,
cut up a
I do
little
have
bit.
one at least. If anybody here likes the Appendix N, check out Shadow and. I'm cutting out.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I be heard?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, it's not like Bruce said I was cutting out.
I could barely hear you. I'm sorry. I'm going to grab the link for Shadow and Son's YouTube channel right now and put that in the chat. You guys are talking about Appendix N now? That's great. That's freaking great.
Yep. We are currently since it's hollow since it is October, we are currently doing a whole month of Lovecraft.
Oh yeah.
That'll be fun.
Okay.
That is every
Actually,
other
just watch.
Thursday. In this case, next one will be that is every other Thursday. The next one will be the 10th at 5 o'clock my time, and I am I'm on the coast. I'm the same as Shadow, but I forgot what that's called. I know he says avocado.
Avocado time?
Avocado time. Pacific.
Yeah. Pacific. Okay.
Which still trips me out
5 o'clock
because
Pacific.
we're in the same state, but technically you're in a different time zone.
Yeah, we're in 2 different time zones. Yeah. I'm an
Drive
hour
5 minutes in one
behind
direction and
Six
bam.
Nations.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yep.
I blame politicians.
Blame the railroad. The railroad's the reason why we have the different time zones.
I thought it was frickin' Ben Franklin and his incessant "let's save money on wax candles" thing.
If that's the first I've heard of this,
But that might be just daylight savings time that I'm thinking of. You're probably right. I don't know. Somebody else screwed it up for everybody else. That's what I get at. Gonna go yell at clouds now.
Okay. Do you have any plugs, Six Nations?
Well, with the mention of H.P. Lovecraft, last night on Tubi, I watched The Whisper in the Darkness and The Call of Cthulhu. Call of Cthulhu is a 2005 movie done up by the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. And then 2011, they went into The Whisper in the Darkness. If you enjoy weird fiction or H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu mythos, etc., go check out Tubi. It's free. And they got loads of cool stuff like Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all ad driven, right?
It is.
Yes, and it's not as bad as YouTube or anybody else. But if you got a web browser like Brave, what Bruce was saying, it'll chop all that out.
Thank you, baby girl. Janet,
Yes.
do you have anything that's on the foreseeable horizon?
I'm thinking about maybe doing a couple of movie I'm thinking about starting a movie music video stream a couple days a week on X, where I'm going to probably dress up in theme, like and do Grease and do music videos from the movie Grease, and maybe movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, stuff like that have really good music that came along with the movies. And I've been researching, writing down different stuff like that, trying to come up with another way where I can, utilize some of my costumes and stuff. And it's on X, so I don't have to worry about getting in trouble from YouTube for having music on it. So I'm thinking about doing that, but not until next Thursday. And I'll have Team Shit Show 2.0, and then the Friday Night Shit Show again, and then I'll be here with you and playing our game on Saturday. That's what I got planned. That's it.
Oh yeah, I forgot we did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
How silly of me.
Yeah, that's kind of how we all became
You should
friends.
wear that costume when you come, too.
Oh hell no! That was hard getting that mask on because that
Yeah.
was literally the sleeve of a T-shirt that I stretched over my head, and nearly poked out my eyes trying to feel where my eyeballs were, and then I cut it out. And then the balaclava
Well, it
I
looks
haven't worn
good.
since
You did a good job.
2011.
You did
It is the
good.
most ridiculous, retarded thing, and I love it
Yeah.
because I haven't done that in years.
We love
That is
it
me
too.
as Raphael.
Yeah, you're telling everybody, fork you. I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah,
See
you
what
did
Bruce
good.
doesn't tell you is he's going to use that picture to make a Lemmy miniature.
Probably.
Oh, I would be down.
You got a 3D printer crafting? I'll get you the STL here. Let me put it in Blender for a bit.
Oh, I want to say thank you to everyone that hung out with us today, and a few people. I think Spider-Man came and
And Wolverine Schnick
yeah,
was
Wolverine
the
came
second
to watch,
guest.
came to watch the movie. So at least I don't know if they're in the chat because I hadn't heard him say anything, so or saw anything. So, but thanks for hanging out with us. It was fun.
And it was awesome how lively the chat is today. So, like, that's always fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed being able to have everybody here be just constantly talking about things, and want to give a thanks to T-Virus Terrence, even though I understand his level of frustration. Like, you're getting away from the source material, you're diluting the source material. I get that. I love that. But then at the same time, as a 15-year-old, I probably would have never seen this movie till I got my own car and drove to Blockbuster, then drove to my friend Eric's house, and we watched it there in his basement, because my mother would never allow an X-rated movie with nothing but fucking ninja costumes worn by turtles, cutting up beating the hell out of every bad Foot Clan member they find.
Mm-hmm.
My parents would have, like, they would have had a cow. They would have
You would have
never.
been grounded. You would have been
Yeah.
grounded until you graduated from high
I would have
school.
been grounded till I went off to the Navy, and then when I come back on leave, I'm grounded again. You know, you thought
Oh.
you'd get away from being grounded? Oh, just because you serve your country? Yeah, you're stuck here for the next 2 weeks, son. You're stuck in
We
town.
need people like T-Virus and others to, be the firm rock to stand upon.
Yeah.
Got to have the purists keep
Do
the
better.
hope
Well, now I'm
alive.
gonna have to buy me a comic book, just one at least, so I can get a real Ninja Turtle comic book. If I
What was its name? First Image has graphic novels. You can get the first 6 of their graphic novels, which will cover basically the beginning of the series.
Okay.
And they're large format.
If you get a chance, can you send me a link on Discord so I can go check it out and try to maybe order it? Because I'm interested now, because you guys tell me how much blood and gore was in it. I might like it because I love that movie that I watched with Bruce where they're fighting their way through that building.
Yes.
So-
My understanding is the comics have as much blood as a bad horror movie.
Mhm.
Wonderful
Good.
horror movie, you mean? Yes.
It's not as gory as Enter the Ninja. I mean, that was, throat slitting and show Kosugi goodness, but
Well,
you're not going to look at it and think, "Oh my God, this is horrible."
Yeah.
We could.
Well,
use
most
a-
Japanese things. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Most Japanese, not just animes, but anything that involves blood, humans are pressurized like a propane tank with gallons upon gallons of blood.
Yeah, it sounds like that one director that's always making stuff where everybody's bleeding to death. Everything's covered with blood. Which one is that guy? What's his name? He
I know who
did
you're
that
talking
movie
about,
with
'cause
Uma Thurman.
Tarantino.
Did that movie with, Tarantino. That's it. That's him. Man, he likes blood in his movies.
Oh yeah, there's actually a funny story. I don't know how much you guys have watched of Adam Savage. Adam Savage, to make a Tarantino movie joke about how much blood is coming out,
Mm-hmm.
he gets a whole thing about getting his arm ripped off by a demon, and they actually get not expecting him to, but they actually get Tarantino to actually shoot a little part in it, and Tarantino making his own little joke, because part of the thing he says, "Is this too much blood?" Tarantino from the back, "It's never too much blood."
Yeah, they're pretty bloody. I mean, it to almost to where it's laughable, you know.
Yeah.
Almost like that one movie that we reviewed, the one Andy Warhol one. Some of the scenes of that, remember that? That was really funny. Lots of blood too.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It's fun.
Okay. So we'll see you in 1 week's time to watch Book of Eli, which I felt at the time is a really good. Denzel Washington plays Fallout, but we got to watch that. And if you want to see more tabletop goodness, swing by here on Saturday. We'll be doing the custom game rules that I've got for our D100 system. The players are right around 5th level, and they're doing some real good. So it's about that sweet spot that everybody talks about. Oh, between 3rd and 7th level is the best time. All right. My name is Bruce. Thank you to Six Nation 31 Kings. Thank you to Crafting Gamer. And thank you to Janet from Another Planet for all being part of the channel today. And I want to thank most of all you, the good people of our chat, for giving us a chance to have an audience. I thank you ever so much. We'll see you again in 7 days.